And in addition to that, what they didn't tell you is they're going to do another currency swap for $500 billion. And that's when several countries get together and they digitally tell you, you have X amount of Swiss francs and you're going to give us X amount of dollars. And the reason for that is that they want to be able to use the dollars in commerce, because what's happening is everybody is pulling their money out of the banks in Europe, particularly dollar deposits. And there's a run on the banks in Europe right now, just like we had 3 years ago in the credit crisis, and the Fed again came to the rescue and provided trillions of dollars secretly.
Right.
And didn't tell us about it. The GAO under the Dodd-Frank Act audited them. The audit's not finished. And they said that the Fed lent $16.1 trillion. Well, it's a colossal sum of money. And when they were doing it, I knew it. And in my publication, I said the figure's 13.8. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I missed it by a few trillion. The point is this. I called it, and it was out of control, but even more than I thought it was. And so this is a stopgap method of trying to save the Eurozone, which is 17 of the 27 countries, and being able to kick the can down the road, probably for 45 days.
Well, let me ask you about the timing on this.
Maybe 2
Bob.
or 3 months, and that's it. They're going to have to do it over and over again, or the whole thing's going to collapse. So they're not fooling anybody.
Bob, what's your assessment of the timing on this? Sorry to interrupt you there, but how long do we have before the real fallout begins across Europe for this? You said kicking the can down the road 45 days or so. But also, the question is, when do we feel the European financial catastrophe in the United States? Is it immediate? Is there a lag time? I mean, why should listeners in the U.S. today be so concerned, and rightly concerned, with the analysis that you are offering about Europe and the timing there? Why does it matter here in the U.S.?
Well, it looks like they're going to buy 2 or 3 months here, and so it's not going to be that quickly. And what about Greece? Well, that'll depend upon what the German Bundestag does, and which is the House of Representatives, and that will be on the 29th. And if they don't pass the loan approval from the Bundesbank to the European Central Bank, then there won't be a deal. And that means the U.S. will have to step in again via the Federal Reserve and help the European Central Bank come up with the funds to lend them. Now, it's illegal for them to lend them, but nobody's making an issue out of it because they don't have that authority. They can't create money and credit, even though they do illegally. You see, there's no rules anymore.
Right. Well, we see that everywhere.
And as far as the United States concerned, the major banks in New York, of which there's 5, they have insured the debt of Greece for the banks in Europe in part of what they bought. And it's about $150 billion. They say it's 75, but it's double that. And because they lie about everything. And we can't tell because we can't see their books. And also the money market funds, pension funds, have been buying Greek and other paper to get the yield. The yield's over 100%. And so they're taking the risk. Well, if they're offside, you get another 150 billion more. And so you're offside 300 billion. And maybe more. And that's going to affect the lending institutions in the United States, which then means that the Federal Reserve will have to give them more money again. Now, what's the flip side of all this? It's very, very, very inflationary. And what instruments profit by inflation? Gold, silver, and commodities. And that's it.
Yeah, where is gold today, Bob? I haven't been tracking it this week. What's it up to?
Well, I track it while I'm talking to you. We're dealing with the outside month, which is December, in both gold and silver. And gold is up 32.60, and silver's up 129, a bit off their highs on the day. And I said yesterday morning on my shows that I'm on, I do lots of them, that this was a turning point again. And I think that's the third time in a row I picked it within like 3 or 4 weeks. And we're going to run right back up again. And this time, they used, as they did before, the derivatives, options, and futures. But this time they also had some of the central banks in Europe leasing gold to gold bullion banks like J.P. Morgan Chase. How much? I don't know. The structure? I don't know.
Why would they be leasing gold to J.P. Morgan so that J.P. Morgan can cover its obligations in physical gold?
That could be. But more importantly, what Morgan normally does is immediately sells the gold into the market. And when they go to pay the lender back, let's say it's Portugal, when they go to pay him back, they pay him in dollars. But Portugal still has the gold on their books as if they still had it, and that's approved by the IMF. So the whole thing is a scam. But what they were doing, I think, was lending gold into the market, which is tantamount to gold sales.
Right, okay. Now, by the way, we're coming up on a break here in about a minute, and we're going to continue with you, Bob, here on the show. I want to ask you, perhaps this is not the realm you normally comment on, but I really value your assessment and your opinion. I want to ask you about Al Gore and how now even environmental groups, environmental groups are now saying that Al Gore is so polarizing that perhaps he is harming the global warming industry, you might say, or the whole advocacy of that theory. So I'd like to ask your opinion about Al Gore. We've got about a minute if you want to get into that, and then we'll continue on the other side. Go ahead, Bob.
Armand Hammer was the person who really financed Al Gore's father. And after he died, the Russians said that he was a communist spy starting in 1923. I knew Armand Hammer, and I knew he was a communist all those years, and so was Al Gore's father and Al Gore. Now, today, in our realm today, there's so many different kinds of socialism.
All right, we gotta go to break here. Stay with us, though, Bob. Sorry to interrupt you. Stay with us. We'll be back with Bob Chapman from the International Forecaster with continued comments on Al Gore and the global warming movement, which is now perhaps rejecting Al Gore. This is the Alex Jones Show. Stay with us. You're listening to the Alex Jones Show on this wonderful Freedom Friday, I call it. Of course, freedom is under assault Friday and every day in America, it seems. Now we've got this story about Big Sis ordered NFL grope downs. This is now a story posted on Infowars.com by Paul Joseph Watson. Alex himself already called in and chimed in on this issue and warned us that we have got to rise up and resist this. We've got to call the NFL. We've got to call the team franchises. We've got to go. Bob Chapman suggested we go and ask for a refund on our football tickets so that we do not provide any financial support for the NFL if it's going to go along with Big Sis, Napolitano, and its Homeland Security touch my junk agenda. Not something that we want to be given into. Now, Bob Chapman continues with us in this segment. I want to mention, if you'd like a free copy of the International Forecaster, his publication, just call 1-800-686-2237. Again, that's 1-800-686-2237. And, Bob, before the break, I wanted to chat with you about Al Gore and how he's becoming a nuisance of sorts to the environmental movement itself. Now, I've always thought, gee, Al Gore, well, I know he's a fake environmentalist because he won't speak out against GMOs, which is a huge environmental issue. But now even, I guess, some of his own friends are saying he's not the right guy to lead their march of fraud. I don't know. Continue with that, Bob. Where do you think this is going?
Well, I think he's torn between the power trip and the fact that he's filthy rich. And he's also part of this carbon trading operation. He owns part of it. And so that'll bring him income if it continues ad infinitum. This carbon is nothing but a way to tax people. And I did a lot of radio work on that 2 to 3 years ago and helped expose what they were up to in this carbon scam that they've got going. But Al Gore is passé. He's been proven to be a liar, essentially, and many other people who are hooked up with the movement, particularly people who are connected to government or the Council on Foreign Relations or the Trilateral Commission or the Bilderberger Group. And, in fact, the man who calls himself president of the United States either has or is in the process of going to Australia to help the PM there, who's a lady, and to try to get the people to accept carbon taxes. And, what is he doing that? I mean, there's more important things here in America.
Well,
anyway,
exactly.
The point is that he and others have crippled that whole movement, and it's lost its validity, and I don't think they're going to get it back. They continue to pursue it because carbon taxes are the way that they want to tax everybody in the world. It's very important to them. They've been working on it for 30 years.
Here are words from The Guardian itself, Environment blog, where these are folks in the environmental movement saying Al Gore is a hugely polarizing figure, particularly in his homeland. That's an interesting term there to use. Whatever he does or says, no matter how cogent or sensible, they claim, will attract scorn and derision, they say, from those who just can't see past the man. Well, I think we see right through the man, actually. I think we know exactly what he's up to. But, Bob,
Well, I think if you really want to find out, why don't you consult with his ex-wife? I'm sure she's got plenty to say.
Yeah, Bob, I want to thank you for joining us. We are out of time. Thank you so much. And, folks, check out the internationalforecaster.com to see more from Bob Chapman. Also, in the fourth hour today, we're going to be broadcasting the Overdrive from PrisonPlanet.tv, the Snitch Act, arsenic and apple juice, Britain's in support of Al-Qaeda, much more. Broadcast begins right now. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.